So today I wanted to demonstrate talking to the text and what that even means, right? So often when we read, it can just go in one ear out the other, so to speak, or we're just skimming to kind of get the main idea really quickly. But when we are critically reading, we're often slowing down and really, trying to take in all the pieces that make the argument and fully understand the nuances, right? So talking to the text is an excellent technique to help us with our critical reading, especially if you struggle with reading comprehension, right? Remembering what you just read, understanding main arguments, things like that. As well as just to kind of get to the more in-depth sort of meaning of our arguments. So talking to the text is also called annotating. So I wanted to kind of demonstrate ways that, someone who's experienced or used to talking to the text or annotating would do this. So you can see I pulled up Brainology, which is our article for this week, right? And I kind of wanted to just demonstrate for us that, what I would do if I were talking to the text, so to speak. To the text, there are many things that we can do. So some techniques that are common are highlighting what we're reading, like key ideas, putting little notes on the margins, possibly putting like symbols, especially if we're handwriting, right? So let's just kind of look through this here. So this is an exciting time for our brains. Okay, so what's exciting about this, right? This is kind of something I'd be thinking in my head. More and more research is showing that our brains change constantly with learning and experience, and that this takes place throughout our lives. Okay, yeah, okay. So does this have implications for students' motivation in learning? I would probably put a note here and be like, does it? It certainly does, okay, according to her, right? So Carol Dweck, in my research in collaboration with graduate students, we have shown that what students believe about their brains, whether they see their intelligence as something that's fixed or something that can grow and change, has profound effects on their motivation, learning, and schoolwork. Okay, so I'm thinking this is probably what she's going to be focusing on, right? Main focus of the argument? Question mark? Okay, these different beliefs or mindsets create different psychological words, one in which students are afraid of challenges and devastated by setbacks, and one in which students relish changes and resilience. Okay, so determines whether change is good or bad, right? So these are kind of some key things that are standing out to me, right? And you can see that on Google Docs, it automatically highlights when you leave comments. But if you were printing out and writing, you could be busting out a highlighter, you could be underlining, you could be circling words, right? Okay, so let's just finish up with this paragraph and then we'll kind of talk about that. So how do these mindsets work? How are the mindsets communicated to students? How are mindsets communicated to students? Okay. And most important, can they change? Okay. As we answer these questions, you will understand why so many students do not achieve to their full potential, why so many bright students stop working. Okay, so this is what we're gonna be gaining from this article, right? Okay, that makes sense. So I just would probably put a little if I were drawing it, I would put an asterisk, come back here, this seems important, right? Put a little star. You will also learn how praise can have a negative effect. This is kind of interesting. Okay, so maybe I'm curious about this, right? So look for later, right? Come back for that because that's kind of intriguing. So ultimately, these are the questions that it's addressing, right? So that's what we can kind of take away. So as you can see, right, I was just kind of verbally saying the things that go in my mind or play in my mind as I am reading. So I'm often kind of asking these questions and kind of digging deeper and paying attention to them. And then you'll notice as I read, right, I take notes, I put questions, I maybe just put a comment so that I can kind of come back to it and be like, oh, this was the main point. You also, like I said, if you're handwriting, looking for words, right, that you're not familiar with, you're going to have to do that on your book club assignments. So I think that, overall, this kind of shows you that you need to like slow down. You just don't bust through it really quickly. You kind of have to think about it as you're going. And my biggest suggestion is taking notes, margin notes, or like full notes on the side if you're just reading it on a computer, and you can maybe just put the paragraph it's in so you can come back to it. But I mean, there's no one answer or one right way to do this. You have to find what works best for you. But this is just a kind of a demonstration of how you can do that possibly. So let me know if you have any questions, and be sure to look at the pictures also below of pages from my own book, Born a Crime, and what I've written, right? And you can kind of see what I do on my pages if it's like a hard copy.